Hello learners, welcome to this another session of Certificate in Fashion Design program. Today's topic of discussion is marking on pattern and tools for armhole and neckline. So this is activity part of course 2 of this program, which is basics of pattern making and sewing, and this is activity 3 and 4 which we will be discussing today. So first of all, let us point out what all topic and points we will be discussing today. And first we will discuss types of pattern and its specific use. Then we will discuss terms and symbol used in creating patterns. We will discuss tools for pattern marking. So pattern making, so there are different tools which you will be needing when you go for the pattern making. So what are different tools is used for pattern making, and French curve and its use. What is meant by French curve and why it is used in the pattern making and garment construction. So first let us discuss the activity 3, which is create patterns with all markings. So why this activity is important when you learn this or when you study this particular course, basics of pattern making and sewing. So what all learning outcome, what you will gain after doing this activity and learn and understand this activity. So you can, after going through this activity and when you will do, you can distinguish between different types of patterns and explain the specific use and why you can differentiate between different types of patterns. Like we have earlier discussed methods of pattern making, but here we will be discussing the different types of pattern we have also discussed, and we will be focusing on different types of pattern, and you can explain their specific use, where the particular type of pattern is used. Then you can use and handle different tools for pattern creating. What are different tools are there? Many tools are there which is used in pattern making and creating. So how many types of tools are there and how you will handle, and where in particular which part or which thing you will use that particular tools, you will able to know. Then you can identify and understand the terms and symbols used in creating patterns. What are different terms used in for the creating pattern, what are different tools, symbols are marked on the pattern to make it easily understand. Then use of notches, punches and symbol on pattern. For notches we have discussed it earlier also. So what is the importance of and use of notches, punches and symbol on a pattern? Then you can identify the pattern defects and creating of production pattern. So you can identify what all defects are there and how you can correct them. So this is the broad learning outcome, what you will gain, what you will understand after doing this activity. So let us just discuss what type of pattern we are saying. What are different types of patterns? So we can say there are basically 3 types of pattern we have. The basic pattern, we have discussed the basic blocks, we call it as a sloper. Then we have the working pattern and we have the production pattern. So let us discuss first about the basic patterns we have. So basic pattern we can also call this as a sloper or a basic blocks. So in the unit also we discussed that basic sloper or block, it is the fundamental layout of the pattern when we go for the garment construction, and it is purely made out of the standard body measurement or the exact measurement what we have taken from the body. So basic pattern is also known as the sloper, basic blocks, and are made from the making garment with some standard measurement. So we can say it is the foundation that is used to make the pattern for a design and has no seam allowance. So this is just the basic and the fundamental and the foundation, or we can say it is the primary part or the primary stage of the pattern we are making. So it has no seam allowance, no ease added in the pattern. It is just the measurement, body measurement or the standard measurement we are using to create the garment. Then it comes about the working pattern. So when we have the basic sloper or basic bodice block, then we develop the working pattern, which can be explained as a pattern that are made during the working of various techniques and before arriving at the final pattern. Suppose we have developed a basic block or a basic sloper with the standard measurement or the measurement of for whom we are going to create the garment. So we create the basic pattern, then we do some creativity, when we do some addition or manipulation in that particular pattern, it is said as the working pattern. We add various techniques on them, we add seam allowance on them, from where in which part we want to add the dart, from which part we want to remove the dart. We create and add and minus all the techniques we have with us in the working pattern before making it as a final pattern. Then all the necessary changes like slight changes to adjust for a certain body type, we change in design, we can experiment and exploration we can do in their working pattern. We can also planning of finishing and details like if we want to add the yoke in the neckline, we can add in the working pattern. We can do the placement of the belts if we want to create in that pattern. Style lines we can add, pocket, collars and etc. like that creativity we can do in the working pattern. This picture shows how working pattern looks like. So this is when we have the pattern, we just do all the markings and the creativity, changes, variation in the working pattern. Then comes the final or the production pattern. Production pattern, as it is named, is very clear. It is the final pattern we have which go for the production, or at the production house it goes, and for the bulk production of the garment or final construction of the garment. So production pattern are the final pattern that are made on the basis of which the fabric is cut. So this is the pattern which includes all the techniques which we want on the design to be, what ease we want on the pattern, seam allowances are added on the pattern. So all these information, every detailing is added on the pattern, and it is said as the final or the production pattern. These were the types of pattern we have in the fashion designing. Then there are some terms which are related to pattern. So which is very important to know when you are a student of designing, or when you are going to become a designer, or you are making a design pattern. So there are some technical terms which you should know. First is the seam allowance. So the seam allowance means the ease or extra margin or in the garment or the pattern we give, it is said as the seam allowance in technical term. So the amount of seam allowance required for each seam line may vary depending on the location and the end purpose. So seam allowance from in whole pattern, it can vary from the part of the garment or the part of the pattern we are giving. So it depends upon the location, like which part, if we are giving on the armhole, we are giving on the side seam, we are giving at the shoulder, which part we are giving the seam allowances depend upon that particular location and the purpose, like which type of design or what is our final garment should be, it depends upon that. So there are some standard or prescribed seam allowances which we generally follow. So for the part like sharp curves on the garment or the pattern, like we have the armhole sharp curves, so we use generally 0.4 centimeter of seam allowance at that type of parts on the garment. Then we have for the smoother curves like neckline, armhole, waistline, style lines, etc. we use 0.6 to 1.0 centimeter of seam allowance. For the straight seam lines like side seam, center line, shoulder plackets, we use 1 to 1.5 centimeter of ease. Then for the straight edges, hemline in dresses and skirt, we use 2 to 5 centimeter of ease, or seam allowance we generally use. So this is how the seam allowance looks like. The seam allowance means when we have developed the pattern, we mark the stitching line from where we will stitch the pattern. So the distance between the end point of the pattern and the stitching line is said to be as the seam allowance. Like cutting line, the distance between or the margin between the cutting line and the stitching line is said as the seam allowance on the pattern. Then we use control notches and balance mark. So what is the control notches and balance mark? Marks made on the edge of complementary pattern pieces that indicates corresponding seam lines and area. They are useful construction guide on the seams. Like as you can see in this picture, in the first picture you can see there is a stitching line, and then at the end point you can see a triangle shape mark. That triangular shape mark is said as the notches. This resemble or this explains that from this point you have to fold the fabric, or from this point you have to join the fabric. So this is the marking symbol which if this marking is made on the pattern maker or who is going to stitch the pattern or garment, he or she knows that from what this symbol means for. So this mark made on the edges of complementary pattern pieces that indicates corresponding seam line and the area, and they are useful construction guide on all the seams. So this is the used as a construction guide or how we have to join the fabrics. Then one important thing or important technical term you should know is the grain line. So grain line is the direction or the line which draws from end to end on each pattern pieces, and grain line we can say it is the direction of the yarn or the warp and weft line on the fabric. So in which direction we have to cut the fabric, it is said it depends upon the grain line. So this we can say it is a line drawn from end to end and each pattern piece to indicate how the pattern should align with the lengthwise grain of the fabric. So this is about the grain line. Then in the second picture you can see, when you see a piece of fabric, on one end you see a dark straight line, as you can see in the picture, a dark blue, it indicates the selvage line, or it is the starting point of the fabric. So it is the edge of the fabric, and parallel to the edge or the parallel to the selvage line is said as the lengthwise grain, and horizontal to the selvage line is said as the crosswise grain. So in these two directions we have the fabric, and when we fold the fabric at 45 degree of angle, as you can see in this, if I have a piece of fabric, and when I have a piece of fabric it is just square and there is one selvage, and parallel to that it is the lengthwise grain, and then horizontal is the crosswise grain. But when I fold the fabric in a triangular form and it is just like a 45 degree of angle, so it is said as the bias grain. So bias grain is something which is the most stretchable point of the fabric, and it has more stretchability and used for like creating a pattern in which we want more stretch. So these are the three types of grain we discussed: the lengthwise grain, crosswise, and the bias grain. Then we have the darts. This one technical term, or when it is most important when we develop a pattern. So dart the wedge shape or triangular shape mark on the pattern that controls the fit of the garment. We already in the earlier also we discussed about the dart, that this is used to control the fullness on the garment. So dart radiates the highest point of the mount or the rise on the body, and these mounts are generally rounded. Then we have the dart legs. The end point of the dart, the two side of a triangular shaped dart, is said as the dart leg. As you can see in the picture, there are different types of dart we can develop on a pattern. We can develop a shoulder dart, we can develop a central dart, bust dart, French, and the waist dart. So dart point is the point at which the dart ends, and the dart intake, what is said as the amount of separation between two dart legs. When we create a dart, it is in a triangular form. So the dart point is said as the end point, or the tip of the triangle is said as the dart point, and dart intake is the distance between the triangle two legs of the dart is said as the dart intake. How much the distance is between the 2 points of the dart triangle. So this was about the dart and its how it is used and what technical terms are related to the dart. Then there are some tools and techniques which are used in creating a pattern. So first we will discuss what tools and material are used in pattern making. So there are different tools, just we will name out, and we have use the push pin. So push pins are small pins having a wide head on the top. So you have seen a small thin pin at the one end. There is a top round ball type pin. It is used for draping the garment on the body form. Then we have the magnet. It is used to hold the pins when we are developing or going to drape a garment on a dress form. We have long rulers of 30 centimeter and 60 centimeter. It can be of the metal or it can be of plastic. So these are picture of some of the tools we generally use. You can see the push pin in the first round circle, you can see, of multiple colors. We have the tracing wheel we use to trace the design on the pattern, scissors, French curve, which we will be discuss in the next activity. We have the marking chalks, measuring tape, scissors, L-shaped scale, curved scale, and cutter. So these are different tools which we use for the creating patterns. Then we have the awl pins, magnetic pin holders, and pin cushions we use. Then there is one tool or the term we use as a toil. So toil is the type of fabric we use for draping or creating a pattern. So it is a type of muslin fabric which is used for marking and making test fitting garments. So before creating or before developing a final design on the final fabric we want, we just make a test fit garment to check whether all the technical things or the pattern we have developed, it is proper or not. We make a test fit garment, and that test fit garment is made out of the toil fabric, which is also known as the muslin fabric. Then we have the pattern papers, which is strong white papers or brown papers on which we develop the pattern, like our working pattern and the final pattern. Then we have the dress form. So dress form, as you can see in the picture, the third picture, it is said as the dress form. It is made up of standard body measurement. It is a cushioned dress form in which all the markings are done, and you can just develop pattern on the directly on the dress form, or when you have developed a pattern or the garment, you can just display on it and check it whether it is perfect or not. So the first picture is an example of how the toil or the muslin fabric looks like. Second is the how the pattern paper looks like, and third is the dress form, and with all the markings it is done. So it is very easy to develop a pattern directly on the dress form. So you have all the markings and you just do perfectly, develop the pattern perfectly. Then this was all about the activity 3 we have, and then we come to the activity 4, which is based on practice on the use of French curve and other tools which is used for making armholes and the neckline. So first let us discuss what outcome you will gain after going or attempting this activity. So after attempting this activity, you can understand what French curve is and what are its different shape. Then you can learn its technique for uses and selection, and why it is used, and what for which part of the pattern we use the French curve. And then you can explain and you can relate the relationship between the French curve and the designer. So why it is French curve is very important tool when you go for the pattern making and you want to become a designer, why French curve is very important. So let us know, first of all discuss what French curve is. So French curve is a type of scale. We say a French curve are the plastic or a wooden template having an edge composed of several types of several different curves. So it is a scale, we can say it is made up of plastic or it can be a wooden template with an edge composed of several different curves. As you can see in this picture, this is how a French curve looks like. So this is a round shape, also circular, semicircular, and it is sometime it is in a length and circular at the tip. So this is how French curve are of different shapes. So the 3 most common French curves are known as the Burmester set. So we have the set of 3 types of French curve which is used in the pattern making. So it is used in drafting or drafting for drawing smooth curves of almost any desired curve or the part of the drawing. So what we when we develop a basic block and pattern we developed, so we have some curve part or the curve area on our pattern for which we need to particular type of scale to give a smooth finish to that particular area. Like we use the French curve to give a proper curve or the smooth curve line shape to the neckline, to the armhole, to the sleeve cap when we develop. So this is the type how where the French curve is very important to be used. So this is how French curve looks like. You can easily get it and use it when you start doing your practical and when you start developing your basic blocks. So first of all discuss why we use French curve at the neckline. So at the neckline, the neckline is almost round in shape where the French curve is used to draw the smooth lines. So if you see a pattern, if you have seen a pattern and you see a neckline, like you can see in this picture, where this is the basic sloper we have. For on the first image on the left side, you can see it is a neckline. When we draw with a pencil and scale, we cannot make a freehand round shape very perfectly. So to make the neckline in a perfect round shape, we use the French curve. So the placement of French curve should be in such a manner that the straight part of the French curve should be upward, away, and curve should be at the lower, like in the central front neckline part of the neckline. So this is from this image it is clear that if we have the round part on the lower part of the pattern and the length part at the upper side of the pattern, then we make use of this French curve to create a good shape of round shape on the neckline. Then at the armhole we use the French curve. The shape of the armhole is combination of both slightly curve and extreme curve. Like at the seam line it is a little bit curve and at the seam side it is extreme curve. So the placement of French curve should be in such a manner that the straight part of the French curve should be upward away, and the curve should be at the lower of the seam side part of the armhole. As you can see in the picture, in the neckline you can see that curve part is there on the neckline, but at the armhole you can see the extreme round part is put on the armhole, and then we make the round shape with that. Then at the sleeve, how we use the sleeve, French curve at the sleeve, and why it is important. So at the sleeve, a sleeve is the part of garment that covers the arm or through which the arm passes or slips. So the sleeve cap and the till the bicep line, the curve line is marked through the help of French curve. As you can see in the picture, when we make a sleeve block, we will discuss in next session how we develop a sleeve block. So when you develop a sleeve block, we have the sleeve cap upper side, like in the first picture you can see at the above, it is a round shape above the block, and it is the sleeve cap from where our arms goes inside the sleeve. So to making it a round shape, smooth shape to give, we use the French curve at that part of the sleeve. So this is how we explained how we can use the French curve at the neckline, at the sleeve, and at the armhole part. So apart from this, at we can also use at design variation thing. On the pattern we use the French curve. Like a straight line is a line or the curve in the garment that has visual effects, like seam between two fabrics of different colors we can use for design variation. These design variations are in the form of straight or a curve line. We can use French curve is used in blending and drawing the curves like skylines with the blending or merging of the colors. So this is how we can do design variation. So this was all about in today's session. We discussed about the process of pattern making and different types of patterns and markings on the pattern and different symbols we use on the pattern. We discussed the different tools and technical terms which are used for creating a pattern, and we explained the use of French curve at the neckline, armhole, and sleeve. Hope this session was beneficial for you. Thank you.